All right, let's just jump right in this morning and talk about some strategies that are going to help you find greater success in your short sales. And ultimately, my goal is, as you read in my email, to help you avoid screwing your own transactions up. As I said, there's enough resistance in a short sale transaction that's going to make a deal go sideways that you don't need to be a contributing factor. So let me give you a few pieces of advice and some best practices from agents that are finding great success in their short sales so that you can adopt that and really add to your own success. So let's start first with the borrower financial sheet. Pause the video right now and go grab your binder so that you can get your financial worksheet that we went over in the training. And for those of you who don't have the, either don't have the binder because you have the light version, it's in your PDF as well. So pause the video, go grab that so that we're on the same page and that you're looking at what I'm teaching you about right now. It's the countrywide financial statement, and this was just an example. It could be any bank that has a financial statement, or it could be just the generic one. And even though the sections may change around in where they're at, the basic content of every single financial worksheet is the same. You have assets and liabilities, you have income and expenses. And in this particular one, you have your description of assets and then the liabilities listed to the side of that. And then in the expenses, they have balance due. So if there's items that they've basically combined their liabilities into either the asset or the expenses section here, but the concepts are always exactly the same. So let's just briefly explain. And here's why we're talking about this, because again, several times in the last couple weeks we've had transactions that have blown up simply because an agent either didn't know what to look for or didn't take the time to look for something. And so let's go through this. You know exactly what you're looking for here. Description of assets. This is the stuff that they own that's of value to them. So money, of course, is of value to everybody. So checking account, saving account, 401ks. We also have real estate would be on here. Automobiles, other assets, 401ks, I already said that, but basically your assets that you can show on your positive side of your balance sheet. Now let's talk about income. Income is going to be, and I know this sounds a little bit elementary, but let's just talk about it for a second so that we don't leave anybody behind here. You know, unemployment counts as income. Your gross salary from a job counts as income. Rental income from any rental real estate that you have, all that stuff. You need to child support, alimony. That's all going to be on your income side, and they need to claim that. Your seller needs to put that down on there and fill it out as completely as possible. If there's a lot of blanks on this financial sheet when you get it, then that means that they're not filling it out very completely. Okay, expenses. This is just going to go down. You know, everything from mortgage payments to how much money you spend on gas every month, your car payment, your insurance. Telephone, utilities, groceries. And here's where you need to take a few minutes to review this document. And it really shouldn't take you long, but you need to scan through it and you need to basically guess and say, okay, the size of this family is 2 persons or it's 6 people in the family, but get an idea of how big their family is and go through here and says, does this make sense? Mortgage payments and car loan payments and those kind of things are just what's on the statement that they have. But things like utilities, groceries, gas. If there's 2 people that are driving a long ways to work and they say they're only spending $100 a month in gas, then they're probably underestimating their amount of money they spend on gas every month. Same with groceries. If they have 6 people in their family and they're saying that they only spend $400 a month in groceries, they have no clue, no concept of what they're actually spending. And the reality is that your seller is in this situation potentially for multiple reasons, but they probably don't have the best financial habits, which means they probably don't have the best estimated concept of what they spend every month. And so, you know, help them make sure they're being realistic. Here's what you really ultimately want to look for. You want to look for the total of their expenses at the bottom of the page and compare it to the total of their income on the other page. If their income is bigger than their expenses, they're not at a negative cash flow every month. They're not upside down on a monthly basis, and it's going to be very difficult, if not impossible, for the bank, for us to get the bank to approve a short sale. There's no hardship because they are able to pay all their bills every single month. Now granted, if somebody is being transferred or they're having to move, make sure they're adding into their expenses the new cost of their housing, because that is and probably will be the only thing that pushes them over the top to be negative every month. So they have to come up with a negative number. If there's not a negative number there, then either they need to go back through and reevaluate what they're actually spending every month, or they're not a candidate for a short sale. So don't spend your time trying to work on a short sale for them, because unless there's something out there that's causing them to have to move and add to their expenses and have to sell their house, the bank's going to say, just stay in this house and keep making your payments because you can afford it. Especially not going to approve it if they're bringing in thousands of dollars every month. One other side note is if there's something odd or weird on there that just kind of makes you think, investigate it, ask some questions, because the bank's going to do the same thing. So if they have a $1,000 payday loan, for example, that seems a little bit weird. That seems excessive and high. So they need to provide some documentation that proves that's what they actually have. So take some time and go through that. It will save you a lot of time and energy. It'll save us a lot of time and energy. And again, we're going to be going through these a little bit more thoroughly as well and make sure it makes sense to us. But don't spend a bunch of time with your client if it's not going to, if it's stuff that's not going to go through. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is alliance fees. And very first and foremost, I just need to say again, the alliance fees are not paid by anyone in the transaction. The bank pays our fees. So don't position it that the buyer is paying our fees or that the seller is paying our fees, because neither one of them are directly paying our fees. So by doing that, what you're doing is you're causing buyers, because what tends to happen is that it's positioned incorrectly and the buyer thinks that they're actually paying our fee, and so they're not putting offers in on your property. And that's the last thing you need in a short sale, is to deter other people from not putting offers in. So there's enough limitation in people that want to put offers on short sales as it is. So don't create more of those people by misrepresenting the fees. One of the things that's happening, it's I think causing issue with this, is that agents are actually attaching addendums and closing instructions for our fees to the MLS and not explaining it. It's just part of what the buyer's agent downloads when they're doing an offer. A best practice is to actually make a phone call, take 60 seconds and explain it in really layman's terms. Hey, this is how the negotiation company gets paid. It doesn't come out of your buyer's pocket. It's a net zero change to your buyer. And so I just want to make sure you understand that. If you have any questions when you're reading through it, give me a phone call so we can walk through it. That is critical. You need that buyer's agent to understand that their buyer is not paying our fee. Otherwise, on first glance, they might think, oh, well, we're not going to do this. The buyer has to pay an extra fee. No, we're not going to do that. So don't attach it to your MLS. Make sure you're explaining it to the buyer's agent. These two items, if you focus on just these two items in your short sales, it will help you extremely find greater success in your short sale transactions. And agents are finding success in their short sale transactions all the time. So let's shore these two items up that will help you, as I said in my email, not self-screw and actually get some more of your short sales approved. So good luck in getting more short sales. And don't forget, next week is actually our monthly strategy call. So be on that call. We can have clarification around some of these things that we're talking about, strategize on some specific transactions that you're working. And we'll talk to you then. Thanks. Bye.